All right. So I've been spending most of my day fine tuning my template here, um, trying to incorporate as much data as possible without getting overwhelmed by it, kind of like how this chart shows, right? Um, you know, I like to get the indicators and put them together and see what they make, right? It's like it's like exploring the capabilities of what it could do, right? When I was a big time gamer, I used to do this all the time. Try to find what the character can and cannot do, right? See how far it goes. Start off with just two or three of them, then add more and more. Just keep on piling them up until it hits a point to where it's just like, whoa, hold on here, it's too much, right? Uh, it gives me more of a view of what the capabilities are of the indicators and stuff, right? What I could see. It's all about what your comprehension on it, right? If you can't, like, music notes, if you can't read them, then you know you're gonna need a translator or something, right? Hieroglyphics. There you go. If you don't understand the meaning behind it, then it's really useless. So yeah, I spent around, I don't know, 10 o'clock this morning. It's around a little after 10 o'clock right now. Um, just changing things, making things, breaking things. Um, and I think the two subgraphs, this one and this one, are about as good as it's going to get coming from these three subgraphs. Um, so I'm thinking I incorporated as much data that I could with these three, right? And condensed it all down into two without taking away too much of you know what it had to offer, right? Now I still got to work on this one. I want to simplify the main chart, this area right here. It's kind of hard to do. I want to take some of the colors down and stuff. If I can make this one dull, right? Like, pretty much black and white, right? But still have all the data on there, and knock out most of the data that is no longer needed. Then I think things are going to be a lot better. I think my graph is going to look a lot more decent, and still obtain you know all the information that it previously had, right? So I got to figure out a way to get this one right here on there and this one. And I'm not going to take this with me. I'm not going to take this with me because it already has something similar to it. So I'm going to try to, like, anything that's too similar, get rid of. Like this one right here in itself, it's gone. I'm not going to use that one no more. Um, let's see here. Well, some of the important things, like the divergences, that's definitely important. Market structure, that's definitely important. Um, like overbought, oversold zones, right? That's definitely important, right? Um, and then I like to use cycle analysis, right? So this is what I had started on probably about 2 months ago. Went ahead and set that up, and I had this one for the shorter term, right? So technically this is for the longer term. I got it on the daily, but it's supposed to be on the 3 day, something like that. Up here, down here, up here, coming down, and it's actually doing it. That's surprising. Don't tell me it's going to actually follow through with that. Okay. But And then this one I did before this one. So this is the shorter term waves. It was I was basically trying to catch the money flow on the upward trend and have a visual of it. So this is what it boiled down to. You had to sell here, sell here. You had a peak here, end of a lower end of a trough here, and like a little peak here, and it kind of like doubled down on it here and here. You can see it, the blue right histogram, and then it came down to this area. I would say this is like the consolidation zone. It's a little bit late in the cycle, in this wave cycle, right? But then it, did it move up and then move down, and then it kind of moved sideways here, consolidating. Then it moved up, then down-ish, not too much. Then the up was not too much either. Then the earnings report came out. Then, once you get a fundamental, a catalyst and stuff like that, or news or whatever, you can, you know, technical analysis is really not going to, the trend of it is really not going to hold water. Other than the divergences here and here, they got lower and lower as the price got higher and higher and higher, right? The the divergences came in at a lower point and a lower point. It's definitely a bearish thing. That's setting up, a future left-handed translation, pretty much. Especially right here on the 3-day, you can see how it had a bump up and then it had a bump up. But even though the price action was higher, the indicator itself never went higher. It actually had a divergence and went lower. So it was setting up to do this, and I think not just from a technical point of view, also from a short volume study point of view, right? This is where they deployed. I mean, a lot of cash flow to add to a short position, even though some brokerages suggest that short volume or short interest was decreasing. I believe that they're the data that we're currently getting from those free sources, which this is technically a free source, but you got to buy the subscription to use TradingView, so it's not really free, right? It's paid for, it's premium. So I would trust this better than that, but FINRA is still FINRA, so free or not. Um, but the technical analysis that I'm using on it, right, is it's unique in itself. So this is pretty much like what I see here. You could actually make that into a cycle if you really wanted to. Something like this. You could say this was a high point, right? And then that was a low point. That was a high point. So, it'd follow through like this here, right? And at the peak is when they would want to add to their short positions. And at the bottom, that's when they're going to want to exit. So, this is what I'm looking at. I figured with the spikes here and the spike here, and I have the chart set up to follow price action. If these moving averages right here are headed downward, then it should also follow through with price moving downward, and that did not. So that's a divergence in itself. And using this cycle that we currently have, from here to there to there to there, then it would say this downward movement from here to here, right? This white line, that it would follow through and we should see a decrease in price. Now, how low it's going to go, that would have to be done by, other means. I would think that it would hit $3 at minimum, before it started consolidating. But if it breaks say the 280 range, and it kind of like this little accumulation zone right here, If it fails and breaks through that, then the next accumulation zone is right here. So then that would put, I would say, the $1.80 in range for support. Now, I just set up this template the way it is, and the algos suggest that it's going to bounce at 320. That's what it suggests. It says it's going to consolidate around 320, maybe 320 to 350, and then bounce up. But then there's a possibility it could be a left-handed translation, right? So if I get my drawing tool out, then it would be like this, that, and right here would be the peak of the on the cycle, right? It would be the peak of the price action. Then it would head down into probably this price zone right here, slowly but surely, um, and then wait for this trough, and then see what happens after that. Uh, if this even plays out, this is it's all speculation until it's not, right? Um, but from what I'm looking at the charts, the way I have this set up now is that I wouldn't see any type of like bottoming phase until this indicator right here, this line, gets into like the oversold region or down here, and we start seeing some green pop up in the oversold region, like these right here, as well as the histogram start showing, you know, um, support and it reversing like it how it is right here. Um, Time wise, it's definitely going to be no later, right, than November the 20th, according to what this chart's saying. But the 3 days saying December the 13th. So you depending on the time frame you're using, you can do the 3 day. I like to use the 3 day because I don't have enough data right now for the weekly, but you can try, right? And this hasn't broke down right here. It hasn't crossed yet. It hasn't done like how this one does. Is how it's pointing down, right? It hasn't done it yet. So most likely it's just gonna bounce, somewhere in this region on the weekly chart. Back to the 3 day, which is the same region right here. It's just instead of doing 5 days, it's gonna do 3. Well, technically, it kind of adds in the weekend because it's the weekly. It's 5 days, just a little bit different compared to the weekly, just a tiny bit, but it's pretty much the same thing. 5 days in a week, so 3 days, but it's a little bit heavier, towards the weekend, the 5 days, because it's 3 days. If I wanted to do like a heavy version of the daily, then it would be something like this. And that would suggest this zone right here at 280. And if it fails that, then it would say this is a lot of support right here. Of course, it's that dollar range, but uh, it would say the 120 area. But I highly doubt that's going to happen. So let's go to the 3 day, and we'll say go to the daily on the other side. And like I said, the 180 right here, this zone, the 180 ish, 70, 80. That would be the one that I'm looking at as far as Clover Health is concerned. But yeah, like if you're new to Clover Health, you don't have a position, you get to a point where you just started adding to a position. These would be good buying opportunities, especially the cycle analysis with this trough coming up. This is supposed to be an important one. But if it's a left-handed translation, the end of it's going to be the important part. If it's a right-handed translation, then this is the important part coming up right now. Um, but if you're bullish for the long term, any of these points where the trough is would be a buying opportunity time wise, right? These would be buying opportunities. Now I got the S&P on here too. The silver is S&P. I just do that for visual. Maybe if the price is going down and the S&P 500 is having its trough at the same time, that would make it somewhat more significant than having the regular trough come down at the same time, like how it's supposed to do right here. It kind of does the same thing here. They're almost ish lining up, and they fall away from each other over here. But around this zone, the middle of next year is when, according to what we have or what I have currently, sometimes they tend to lean to the left or lean to the right a little bit more rather than hit the center. But yeah, that's how that works. So yeah, if this happens, then I would expect the low to be in around this time frame, and I would expect it to be here unless this breaks. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is the 200 breaks, the simple moving average, the 200 simple moving average breaks, because by definition, the 200 simple moving average gives the market structure, right? So if it's above the 200, it's structurally positive. If it's below 200, though for the long term, it's structurally negative, right? So as long as it's above this 200-day moving average, the daily or the weekly, where's the weekly at? Right? The weekly, this is the 200-day moving average, just right at it, right? So, I mean, it just got to it. I don't, I don't expect it to, you know, honor it on the weekly that much if it just got to it. I mean, it's going to need to pull back and test something out before it, holds the 200 week moving average, simple moving average, right? It starts creating that bell shaped curve, right? Upward, that parabolic lift, right? I would expect it not to honor it the first time, but if it does, great. But I don't. I think it'll be wedged in somewhere, bouncing around in there. I mean, hell, the price went up to like $7, $8, or even like $17. It would had some at some point in time. It's going to have to come down close to because of that how far it stretched out. It would have to retrace and come back down to a moving average, at least. You know, I would say the 50 or the 100, if not the 200, right? Since it's stretched out so far and so fast, it only makes sense. Like, a spring, you pull it, right? It's got all that tension on it. Eventually, it's going to snap back, right? So, I didn't expect this to happen. I don't think anyone really did. But if I was just constantly focused on TA, said I got the fundamental side down, right? I know the intrinsic value calculation. I know the guidance for the company. I know all about the mission. I know all about the core operations of the company, right? Then the only really thing you could do is just look for buying opportunities. I mean, technical analysis. Now you could be type of technical analysis that I can do. You can simplify it and just use moving averages. All you need is just a couple lines and you're done, right? But I don't like it like that. To me, that's too basic. I need something with some meat in it. I need something with a challenge in there. I need something that gives me a lot of fucking material to work with. I want it to be challenging, right? So That's my thing, right? So I and like what did I say? My name is on the Discord, right? It's the guy who puts all of the information together, right? So that's basically some some of the things that I like to do, anyways, on the computer when it comes to technical analysis, right? I like to add in a lot of information. Sometimes it's a bad thing, though. You overwhelm yourself, right? But you know, integrated data analysis, right? It's pretty much what it is, right? Too bad I can't have some like something going on here with you know, here's the seasonal. It's funny how they got the seasonal for 3 years on here. I don't think they had that before. So like typically in August, Clover goes up for the past 3 years. Anyways, it's been going up, and then it slowly goes down all the way until May. I mean, it's going to have somewhat of a move up at some point in time, like right here, here, maybe right here. But the season chart on this, when I'm looking at this graph right here, it suggests that for the most part, there in May is when it has a significant low, right? So that's pretty cool to have right there. You go to there's more financial areas in here. You can do an intrinsic value calculation just using the data that you know TradingView offers, but it's just not that awesome, right? I like using the terminal, but yeah, here's some resistance points on the hourly chart on my TA, right? So I think it's like the 2 hour chart I was on. Let's see. They're up here somewhere. No, it wasn't the 2 hour. It was 8 hour. This is the mark of a fighter. A rich, full flavored lager with a crisp, refreshing taste. A reward for those who fight. I don't know. I don't see them here. They should have been showing. Maybe I got him just set up to show on visibility. Oh, yeah, that's the reason why. Okay, so we could do hourly and weekly, right? And then hourly and weekly. And then right here. Weekly. So, yeah, do that. Now we can go back. Okay, 8 hours. No, not really. I believe it was the 2 hour I got this from. Um, let's see here. Okay, now that was just because it's the high, right? That's where that came from. This one and this one, no, it doesn't look like it's a 2 hour. No, 8 hour. Eh, not really. Huh. 1 hour. No, it's not the 1 hour. So 1 hour doesn't even go that high. It's currently where it's at right now. So these are the resistances on the 1 hour for upcoming tests. This one is trash. This $4.02. If it breaks, if it even, I don't know, it's a 1%. You got a 9% here and then a 3% there. So I don't think the 1% is significant enough. I think if it managed to break through the $3.70, it's most likely going to bust through that, and it'll probably fail right here. If it is going to fail at all, if it busts through that and this, then these are the ones that I had lined up. smaller time frames are not going to show it now. 4 hour? Not really. Okay. Maybe I got it from the AI. Um, the AI on the Discord. I think that's where I got this from. Um, has to be now. I mean, the choices are limited. So anyway, those were some points right there that I'm paying attention to, which is going to be like the 470, right? 560 and 690, 619. I believe once it breaks into the $6 range, this 619 is going to be the last line of defense, or for the short sellers. Um, for if it breaks the 615, it's going to shoot up $7. Period. They're going to be right here, $7 to $8. Um, but I think, if I remember correctly, anything after $5 in like $5 plus $5 going to $6. That was it. It was like gap fill time. There's a gap over here somewhere. Let's see. It was somewhere right there. You can't really see it too well in this graph. Oh no. Back. Lock. Just make sure these are locked in place. Okay. So yeah, it's there it is. It's in between here. So it breaks this, is gonna fill the gap, it's gonna get to 612, and then it's gonna bust up and get into somewhere in this range right here. But the first challenge, the biggest challenge, is gonna be this one right here. Say once it breaks through this one, the likelihood is gonna for it to bust through 570 is gonna be a lot more, you know, it's gonna be simple. It's gonna be easy. Especially if it has like strength, upward trend, all that good stuff. Especially if Vivek is buying some more shit. Or if Andrew Toy, how about that? If Andrew Toy decided to buy some shares, oh man. He hasn't bought any. The only people that I know bought shares, there was one Anna, and then there was Vivek, and then it was long time ago, it was Chelsea. She bought it at like $3, I think. And Anna, I think, bought it at like $1, and then Vivek bought it $1 plus. But let me pause this real quick.